Mount Sinai is still burnt on its peak, Exodus 19:18. Yeah, the real Mount Sinai.
All right, let's see it.
The one that they say is Mount Sinai in Egypt, that's not the real one. The real Mount Sinai, the mountain of Moses, is in Saudi Arabia. This is Mount Sinai. And yes, it's still burnt all around. And it has like all of that blackened rock, it's just burnt rock. You can flake it off. This is called Jebel al-Lawz, is the mountain of laws. It's in Saudi Arabia. This is the real one.
So 4 problems with the claims to this point. The first is that Jebel al-Lawz does not mean the mountain of laws. It means the mountain of almonds, because laws with a Z on the end is not a cute way to spell the English word laws. It's an English transliteration of the Arabic word for almonds. Second thing, that blackened peak has absolutely nothing to do with any external burning, much less any divine pillar of fire. The text of Exodus actually nowhere in any way, shape, or form describes the pillar of fire as ever damaging, burning, or altering the surfaces it touched. Closest we get to any kind of reference of what the fire did or didn't do is in Exodus 3, where Moses notes that the fire did not burn up the bush that it was surrounding. So nothing in the text indicates anything ever should have been burnt. Third thing is that the rocks at that peak are black because they're contact metamorphic rocks. They have been baked and blackened by contact with intrusive igneous masses or lava flows. And if you go look at this peak on Google Earth and you zoom out, you will see that those lava flows have blackened the area for hundreds of square miles on the western coast of Saudi Arabia. That's a perfectly natural rock formation that covers almost all of the western coast of Saudi Arabia. Fourth concern is that that photo does not show Jebel al-Lawz. That photo shows Jabal Makla, which is a different peak. Now it is in the al-Lawz range, but the peak of Jebel al-Lawz is about 7 kilometers north of here. And the two are easily confused for a couple reasons. One is that the people who share these claims don't think critically or Google competently. The other reason is that the so-called evidence that this is Mount Sinai is actually shared between the two peaks, and so it certainly makes it a lot easier to assert these claims if you consolidate the two and treat them as the same peak, which is what the creator of this video is doing.
Even down at the bottom of this mountain, there are pillars and an altar, like it's written about in the Bible. This is the bottom of Mount Sinai. See those round cylindrical stones there? Those were made by people.
Yes, these were made by people who were using a nearby quarry to create architectural pillars during the Nabatean period, over 1,000 years after any Moses could have existed, to be sold elsewhere. These have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the standing stones being described in the Pentateuch. To begin, the Hebrew word there for pillars or standing stones is matzavot, and that does not describe a cylindrical architectural pillar. That describes a standing stone that is set up for worship or for memorialization, and that standing stone is flat on one side and more rounded on the other, not cylindrical. The flat side of a standing stone is the face, and that is where there would be an inscription or a design or a painting of some kind. So the notion that these cylindrical architectural pillars are the pillars mentioned in the Hebrew Bible betrays a laughable naivete regarding these features of ancient worship. Next, there is no altar anywhere to be found anywhere near this peak. What was found are the remains of some animal pens, which have absolutely nothing to do in design or in function with an altar. And anyone claiming this is an altar has absolutely no clue what they're talking about.
Here's a corral. This is at the base of this mountain. So, yeah, the real Mount Sinai, it's not in Egypt. The rock of Horeb is not far from this mountain either. So here's Mount Sinai. Now, over here is the rock of Horeb. There. Look at all of the ground around here, that erosion. The Bible's real. God is real.
So we know of a number of locations where rocks naturally split like this, and there's no indication that says anything to do with the rock mentioned in the text of the Pentateuch, which is not said to have split in any way, shape, or form. Additionally, there's erosion all over this region, and there is not a single shred of data that indicates that erosion was the product of any water flowing from anywhere near that rock.
And if God is real, then Jesus is real. And if Jesus is real, then there's a reason for you to be here. And you're saved, assuming you believe in him. So don't deny God because the world doesn't want you to believe in him. It's one way or another, you will meet him. And every knee will confess that Jesus is God.
The scripture says every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord. Knees don't confess.